Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Now, live from Chicago, the Hal Sparks radio program Mega Worldwide.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
Hal Sparks, actor, comedian, and multimedia personality.
And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Hal Sparks.
All right, let's do this.
What is going on, Johnny Million? How are you, sir? We were audio testing this morning, and it's like, it was nerve-wracking. It was very exciting.
I'm a dingus.
You're officially a dingus. It gives you the ability on this streaming software to give your job, and so he's officially you dingus. That's for your health. So anybody who's
this chat shows everything. It shows Facebook, YouTube, Twitch.
I know, it's very exciting. We can actually make the chat appear, I think, even on here at some point. And we have our own private chat. It's wacky.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. So and hello everybody. Welcome. I missed you guys too. I was only on a couple of times over the course of, it was Summer's birthday week, so we went to Disney World for her birthday because she wanted to get away. And that's pretty much the way you can pack getting away to a lot of places in one. It's a sort of a Whitman sampler of experiences, because you can ride amusement park rides. You can wander around Epcot Center and pretend you've gone overseas.
You saw a rhino.
I did. I saw a rhino up close, and it made our guide very nervous on the safari tour at the Animal Kingdom. You can see animal dung closer than you'd want to. You can be downwind from it while you have a special catered lunch. And then you can go to the Avatar ride and go, what is this doing here? But you can also, be both oddly cold and suffer sweltering heat. So I personally,
that's weird.
I like that mix. You know what I mean? I like having the ability to have, and by the way, hi chat room. You guys are going to start showing up. Look at that. They can even show up on stream with us. Isn't that lovely? Hi, guys.
Oh, that's nuts.
Did you run into JD? Yeah. JD Vance went to Disneyland and shut the place down, not Disney World, which I have to say, insofar as I know, if I'm mistaken, I apologize, but I seem to think that all the things I read was that they shut down Disneyland so that his family could go. And I'd like to say a couple of points on that. One is, why not Florida? Because isn't that as maggoty as you can get? And secondly, California, all the stuff, all the crap they talk about Los Angeles and the like, and off they go to Disneyland. So what are you gonna do? That said, hi Kev's gal, happy birthday. By the way, like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show. Super chats are always a great way to show the show. If you're save the show, if you're on Facebook, you can do stars. If you're on Twitch, you can do points, and you can support the show that way, or you can become a supporter of the show on patreon.com/HalSparks. Now, and I think we're live on our Substack, HalSparks Substack, Mega Worldwide right now. But on top of that, boy, oh boy, I feel like it was, if I was going to pick a week to be kind of, out of circulation, when there were a bunch of like meaningless stories circulating to eat up space. Yeah. This was the week to do it, because ultimately what the message of the week, the story of the week, I guess, and it's hard to, the distraction of the week, let's just call it that, because that's really what it is. Like, Trump was scrambling so hard to avoid just anything to do with the Epstein files, and it's not working, by the way. Thomas Massey and Ro Khanna both are planning on bringing Epstein victims to Congress when they come back in a couple of weeks. There is going, like I said, the 5-day to 7-day buildup leading up to that opening, like, oh, here comes Epstein stuff again, isn't going away. It is just not going away. And Trump is trying everything he possibly can, including, to borrow a phrase from the right, cucking himself in front of the entire world, and basically
at least he looked good doing it.
Oh my God. Okay, a couple of things right out of the gate. Apparently, and we'll get to the fact that State Department details about the meeting, notes about the meeting between Trump and Putin, which are classified, were left on an Alaska hotel printer. Just left on the printer at the hotel. Just somebody Pete Hegseth or somebody printed some stuff out while he was, scrounging for scattered rump at the local Alaska hotel or what have you. But they apparently, according to NPR, day after the summit concluded, with nothing to show for it. And I mean, it was so weak and so embarrassing. But on top of that, 8 pages were found that revealed previously undisclosed and potentially sensitive details about the August 15 meeting. According to the report from NPR's Chair Ittner, 3 guests staying at the hotel located 20 minutes from Joint Base Elmendorf-Richardson, which I think is the hyphenated married name of one of the professors at Gryffindor or whatever, where the Russian American president were meeting, and I don't know if you'd even call it that. They discovered that documents included names, meeting times, phone numbers, and other details of all the people involved. They wrote the documents were left on one of the hotel's public printers, adding NPR reviewed photos of the documents taken by one of the guests, who NPR agreed not to identify because the guest said that feared retaliation. The first page in the printed packet disclosed a sequence of meetings for August 15th, including the specific names of the rooms inside the base in Anchorage where they would take place. It also revealed that Trump intended to give Putin a ceremonial present, which is like, what was it? Oh my God. How in the world was it another key like he gave to Elon Musk?
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I should have, I think even Elon Musk was probably still disappointed that he wasn't given like a golden keyless entry, like instead of getting a key, you get a clicker, you get chirp, chirp, get a golden chirp, chirp. So that's okay. That's bad enough. Then we'll talk about the waddle. Let's start from scratch, if we may. By the way,
he can't walk a straight line.
Whoa! Just staggering back and forth. President Foster Brooks, weaving. I mean, maybe that was the weave. Maybe he doesn't just do it when he's talking, Johnny. Maybe he does the weave. When he's
it's not just a speech
as well.
thing. I get it.
He walks the talk when he's
walk that weave, buddy.
Yeah, that's right. So he's like just rotate. It was pitiful. Anyways, then he's waiting for Vladimir Putin because there was this dueling celebrities thing where who's going to get out of their plane first, and of course Trump.
Adorable.
Yeah. Let me just say. It doesn't matter what there was a back and forth, the phones were flying, but it doesn't matter. Trump, Putin exited after Trump. So Trump comes out first, and Putin was like 4 seconds later, but he's just like waiting there, going 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, 4 1,000, and then I'll step out, right? So Trump has to wait at the bottom of the red carpet that he rolled out for this war criminal, this monster that sent rape squads, intentionally into Ukrainian towns in the early part of the war to break the will of the people. And Trump's waiting for him on the red carpet, which is just embarrassing in and of itself. And then, the only thing worse they could have done is if he just laid down a bunch of American flags and let him walk all over them. Because that was basically what we were seeing. We're basically watching him walk down one of the stripes in the flag. And so Trump is waiting there, and as Putin is approaching, who, by the way, didn't waddle all over the place. I mean, he's tiny.
He's not a waddler.
No, he isn't. It's tight. It's easier to keep a tight pace when you've got doll legs. But Trump applauds as he's walking towards him. He starts.
I did not see that.
As Trump, as Putin is getting close, Trump starts applauding his arrival.
Yay!
Yeah, and which is, again, it's just pathetic, and it's embarrassing, and yet at the same time hilarious because he's not my leader. He's the president of the United States, and that's how the rules work. But I don't have to, revere him in any way, and I can mock him incessantly because this is America.
Yeah.
And so it's also hilarious. It's pathetic but hilarious at the same time. And then when he shakes his hand, he does this thing where he goes palm up, and it just looks like a dog rolling over on its belly. On its back.
Why does he go
showing its belly.
palm up?
I don't know. It's the oddest thing. It's like and it's very exaggerated, almost like he's saying, "Give me 5." And yeah, it's just odd.
Put it there.
And that allows the person that you are shaking hands with, and he doesn't do it with everybody. He does. That's the other thing. He doesn't do this with other world leaders, really. Maybe there's a couple of people, but every time he shakes hands with Putin, he goes palm up. It's almost like he's been hypnotized. And he puts and Putin comes over, basically slaps down on his hand and takes it. And then Trump taps the top of it like a grandma. It's the weirdest. And then
I don't like that at all.
And then they lumber up to this Alaska 2025 stand and stand there like a couple of morons. And Putin's got this smirk on his face, and Trump looks exhausted already. And it's like Trump wants to stand up there like he's getting a medal. Like I half expected them to like we're each getting a medal for being here, and just stand there while somebody comes, like Pete Hegseth comes and hangs the like Star Wars end medal around their neck just for being there. And so they stand
red
there.
Carpet? Yeah.
Red carpet up to the stand, Alaska 2025, which looked like a little Olympic stand, like the summit. Dun dun dun. It's all for show, whatever. Which means, by the way, your tax dollars paid for the Alaska 2025 letters, the 3-dimensional letters they attach to the front of this stupid thing. And then they lumber off into this pointless meeting. And then we got to take a break. When we come back, probably the most embarrassing and horrifying thing besides the entirety of the event when we come back is the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide, now with 100% more Johnny Million.
Dingus.
You dingus.
Foster walks around the house when we're not paying attention to him, just meowing like he's been abandoned in the woods.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, it's not the calling for other cats. He's calling for us, but he's just he makes it super raspy.
Yeah.
I can barely.
What is this?
Barely make this sound. I'm so lonely.
I'm so lonely.
And you've only tried playing with me 4 times today. I need number 5.
Let's see. All right. I maybe it's not. By the way, everybody in the chat room, help us out.
Coming back.
Thank you. Sound okay? Look okay? Everything running all right?
Come on, all you producers.
Yes, all you producers.
Your money.
T-Rump failed. Absolutely.
Welcome back to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
So one of the big standouts, of course, was that Trump gave Vladimir Putin a ride in the beast. They both climbed into the beast like he was a dinner guest.
I like that.
And I gotta say, like, I hope, and I'm fairly certain they did, but I hope Secret Service just scrounged around that thing with metal detectors and bug detectors afterwards.
Yeah, because he tried to bug it.
Oh my God! You could literally. They have spy devices that are the size of a needle, like literally a needle. You don't even need it. It doesn't even have to have a pinhead on it. The entire device, and you can just slide it into fabric, and it can it can be one of those resonant ones that only works when there's energy directed at it, which means you can't detect it unless they're currently using it. Like that big, I think the SecDef a long time ago got a big gift, a wooden plaque from the Soviets back in the day. Turned out it had like resonating microphones in it, and that if you hit it with a radio wave, it could read whatever the sound waves in the room were. And then if you knew they were going to sweep for bugs, because they would always tell the boss, "Hey, we're going to sweep for bugs tomorrow." You go, "Okay, I'll be out of here." And then they go into, so they just turn off the little ray that was pointed at it. and they heard what was going on, and and our Secretary of Defense, I think that was their office for like over a year. The Russians did. And that was in the
I remember it being a long
60s or something. Right. That was in the 60s and 70s. So I'm guessing the technology's gotten better. But so he gives him a ride in the Beast, which just looks like he's showing off for a friend.
Yeah.
Like all of it is just so lame. And then people are also like Trump's he gave an interview with Brett Baer before he went to this before he went into the meeting on the flight.
Is that the guy with the big Fred Flintstone head?
Yes, that is the guy with the big Fred Flintstone head. Well spotted, Johnny Million. That is, yes. He's in that big face, small features crowd with Charlie Kirk. So anyways, Brett Baer does this interview with him and asks some fairly reasonable questions, considering. And one of them being is like, what if
considering he's Brett Baer?
Considering he's Brett Baer and he works for Fox News. Yeah. Brett Baer. And he I guess the biggest question was, what are you looking for out of this? And Trump says, I want a ceasefire out of it. And of course, there was none to be had, which is hilarious. Yeah, and of course there wasn't going to be one. He's like, if I don't get a ceasefire out of the first meeting, there may not be any more meetings, he said. But we'll see. He always says, we'll see. Yeah, leave everything open.
Everything's a mystery.
Yes.
Tune in next week.
Yes, exactly. That's you've got this tremendous amount of like, he still thinks he's on The Apprentice. And and I think, curiously enough, I think he thinks the stakes are the same. That's the problem I think most people worry about in the case of Donald Trump, is that to him, what the prize on The Apprentice and the state of the world in reality are the same to him. Same, one doesn't have a higher level of of danger or concern or anxiety. There's not a level
devoid of moral compass.
Right. Well, and also because it's about him, right? It's about his own, it's about people's opinion of him in that situation. So the situation doesn't matter. It could be a yo-yo competition or nuclear war, and he would still have the same consideration, which is, how will my press be when all this is over? And I think that's the big concern, and it's getting worse as he gets more, pudding brained. And he had told Brett Baer beforehand, we're gonna have a press conference after. I'm gonna make calls afterwards to let everybody know what's going on, and how it went. And I probably won't call them if it doesn't work out, which I guess was the potential for a ceasefire. So that didn't happen. And yet at the little gaggle they had, which, was just two of them making remarks, which was also horrifyingly embarrassing, especially if you're Donald Trump. And again, the man has no shame, but he can be embarrassed. So reporters, it is your responsibility to point out the fact that he looked like a cowed dog in the presence of Putin again.
Yep.
And he let him speak first. He left his plane first so that Putin could come out second. So it looks like he's more important. He gave him a ride in the Beast, which is against protocol. You don't do that because you don't want an adversarial world leader or any of their entourage to see the interior of the vehicle, because they can. I mean, the he was a spy first before he was the president of Russia. So, and yet Trump is just emotionally, intellectually, and psychologically incapable of dealing with a threat that's real in this circumstance. So they give these two little speeches, and then they stand there like a couple of dunderheads, and then they wander off without taking any questions. The press was packed in there because people wanted to yell questions at Vladimir Putin, maybe get some answers out of him. The same certainly with Trump, like, did he agree to stop bombing civilian structures and all that kind of stuff? And it was clear from Trump's response, which was, we had some agreement on some things, but some of the big things, maybe not so much. And like, okay, He just handed you your lunch and you sat there and ate it while he stared at you. That's what happened. You just sat there eating PB&J like a little boy right in front of Vladimir Putin. And
I love PB&J.
But he was, well, you don't want the Putin butter and jelly.
No.
The
P cannot stand for Putin in my PB&J.
No, not at all. And that's because, these people have the tendency to poison people. So that would be the lunch reference that I was making. But in this particular case, Donald Trump was just completely subservient to Vladimir Putin at every turn. And then at the end, Putin, I think, spoke for, 5 or 6 minutes. Trump spoke for 3, rambled sort of chunks of the same stuff he told Brett Baer, kind of like that sort of plastering he does after he talks, something like where it didn't work out. But remember that thing I said might still happen? Okay, it might still happen. And he just spackles the hole shut in everybody's concerns about him. So from that, they wander off, and that, as they say, is that. It was a pathetic display through and through. Top to bottom, the show, the congratulatory nature of it, Trump's subservience to Putin, Putin's obvious sort of dominance of the circumstance. Now, do I think Putin got anything out of this other than maybe an 8 to 10 day pause where he can continue to bomb more civilians? No, I don't. I don't think he's going to get concessions. I don't think there's going to be a pullback in, the Indian oil sanctions. I don't think there, if anything, Trump might have come away with this, and he will continue to be embarrassed. Hannity spoke to him afterwards. He was just like punting on everything, right?
Yeah.
They didn't take any questions. They wander off. He talks to a couple of his favorite journalists, and then it's this. It was just weakness through and through. He didn't want to talk much. And then this. What are the stories coming out about it? Cankles on display.
Were they? Yay.
Yes. The Daily Beast had a big story about how like puffy his ankles looked, especially compared to Vladimir Putin, who may or may not be the real Putin. We don't care. But Putin was apparently flattering him the entire time, which of course is how you get control of this idiot. Everybody knows it now, by the way. The heads of industry, the European Union, like Trump is dumb enough to think they actually like him instead of going, oh, this is simply his manipulation point. And I think that is the key, that even now, there are 2 great ways to manipulate Donald Trump. One is monarchical flattery. He's a blubbering, bloated monarch like Dom DeLuise in The History of the World Part 1. He is easily led around by his ego. Pretty women showing him attention, rich and powerful men showing attention. If they go, hey man, you're the boss, that's enough. You can get anything out of this idiot if you just congratulate him on being awesome. The other side, of course, and is being played out by Gavin Newsom. And Gavin Newsom has found the nerve.
He has.
And his team is doing amazing work, I have to say, leading into what's obvious to everyone is that he's, one of the leading candidates, if not the leading candidate going into 2028, that he can be respectful and towards the causes of the Democratic Party and the people that are, on the receiving end of Trump's monstrous presidency, and at the same time, give as good as he gets. We'll be back right after this. It's the House Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide. Yeah.
The only reason I know what The Beast is because I saw that documentary on Amazon Prime called Heads of State with John Cena and Idris Elba.
Did you?
Mm-hmm. That's when I learned what the beast was.
All right. Well, there you go. Why not?
This is what Foster just brought me.
Aw.
The froggy.
It's a frog.
Ready? It was actually pretty fun for a direct-to-stream movie.
Oh, gotcha.
I love me some John Cena.
Yeah, he's a curious guy because he was one of the big China shills that we were calling John Sheena for a while because he was sucking up to Putin so hard, and he said something. He called Taiwan a country, and then his apology was just brutal. And it was, he just said it kind of off the cuff, which is true. Taiwan is a country, and then he had to go basically debase himself in front of the mainland Chinese public to get back in their good graces so that, movies would sell over there.
Yeah. I do love the Peacemaker though.
The character?
Yeah, and the show. The show on HBO Max is fantastic.
Oh, good. You know what was really great? The Penguin.
Oh yeah, I love that.
And you know why it's great? I'm sure you know why I think it's great, Johnny Million.
Because of your mom.
Thanks, Chicago. No, because it reminds you that you are sympathizing with a villain.
Yeah.
Like you realize
you're locked into the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Donald is finished. He is no longer hot. First the hands, so tiny, and now me, Gavin C. Newsom, having taken away his step. Many are saying he can't even do the big stairs on Air Force One anymore unless the little baby uses the little baby stairs now. Stand down now, or California
There's a baby stair option
to destroy your illegal crooked maps in red states. Donald Taco Trump, as many call him, missed the deadline. Missed is in quotes. California will now draw new, more beautiful maps, in quotes. They will be historic, and they will end the Trump presidency. Dems take back the House, in parentheses with an exclamation point.
So
big press conference this week with powerful Dems and Gavin Newsom.
It's a troll statement.
It's so great, and the best thing about it, how trolling Trump became a strategy for Newsom, is the article on Axios. But that's what it's working. And again, like I said, the man has no shame, but he can be embarrassed. And one of the ways you embarrass him is by making fun of the way he talks and making fun of his puffery, because you take away the power in it. You make it seem ridiculous. And that's, a subject of ridicule. It is something he fears more than anything else. One of the words that apparently he was most afraid of being called over the years was a dope. It's so 70s, I guess, but it's
He's
real.
got weird ones. Dog, dope, baby.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't like dogs anyways, and he can't stand. He thinks they're dirty, and he's germophobic. So the idea of walking a dog or having a dog, it's clearly he's got an issue with fecal material that goes well beyond what's normal, but to the point where he can't change diapers and that kind of stuff.
I have a fine relationship with poop.
Yeah, I know. And that's one of my favorite things it's my third favorite thing about you.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be number 2, but sorry. I got you. I got him, ladies and gentlemen. So, but I'm saying that this is the methodology to undermine Donald Trump. This is how it works, folks. On the one hand, and this is why, by the way, whether it's Fetterman or Macron or van der Leyen or anybody, and arguably even Vladimir Putin, I don't celebrate it, but I'm not surprised that all of them that are in a situation where people's lives are on the line, people's livelihoods are on the line, and you can't get rid of him. So what's his Achilles heel? It's flattery. So they're going to throw flattery his way, and Europe and Japan got way better deals than if they'd have played hardball, to the point where it's like the deal that Japanese automakers got over American automakers would have gotten another Republican president impeached already.
Wow.
If you have an American-made car, but you get parts outside the country, you're paying 25, 50% tariffs on those parts, overall raising the cost of the car, even though it's made here in the United States, to, maybe 35% higher in the cost of making it. Whereas if you make a car wholly in Japan of Japanese parts with Japanese labor and Japanese designs, it costs you 15% to sell it in the United States. That's the deal he got. That alone should be the reason that MAGA is on fire about Donald Trump right now. Like, what the hell, as far as big betrayals go? Obviously,
you would think
Epstein is eating a bunch of that, that hard drive space, and will continue to do so. But I've said for a while that, not only does he have these corresponding trains, they're going to strike because they're on the same track and they're headed towards each other. And he set these things in motion, has no idea how they work. But again, I do believe that, and it's not a huge portion, but I think there's 25% of MAGA-dom that does still have, at least they pride themselves, maybe it's just this, they pride themselves on being keenly aware of conspiratorial details. They could follow the money and they could draw red lines between things, and they pat themselves on the back for their conspiratorial thinking. Okay, you can't have that skill and then ignore a bunch of details and be aware that you're ignoring them. And that's really what's cascading across MAGA-dom right now. They're hoping that the rest of the public buys because they like how he's treating immigrants. They like how he's treating women. So they're okay to look past these things temporarily. But in the back right corner of their head is this little voice that is not going to let go. It still goes, back to school prices are really high right now.
Yeah.
Prices at Walmart are going up. Price of food hasn't gone down. It's slowed in its rise, but it was doing that anyways. That's what it's been doing for the last 3 years. And so maybe it's just the trajectory of things post-pandemic, which is exactly what it is. But it's not bringing the prices down anywhere near what they used to be. And there is no strategy that anyone can see to actually do that. And on top of that, adding tariffs to things will exacerbate this, because any factory in a foreign country that uses cheap labor and is close to the materials that you're using, let's say rare earth minerals or just plastics or whatever, whatever it is that makes the product, moving that whole endeavor to the United States is a costly endeavor. Just doing it, just uprooting the factory and moving it here adds to the cost of your product, no matter what that product is. You can't just go back into old shutdown factories and turn the lights on and go, I don't know, do it over there someplace, make that, start sewing. It doesn't work that way, and it never will. And so Trump that's going to be baked into the price. Then you add American labor costs, which, never mind the fact that Democrats believe in a living wage, and never mind that we would like the federal minimum wage to come up to match, quite frankly, most of the states at this point, at the very least, even the
Isn't
lowest
federal still
state.
$7.25?
Right. That's because
you can't live on that.
Right, but it also doesn't apply. None of the states do this because they can't compete. If every state has a tri-state area, and if there's a McDonald's just across the border, and you can work there even if you in Kansas City, even if you live in Missouri, so they know this. East St. Louis versus St. Louis, Southern Illinois, you can live in that area where it's cheaper and work in St. Louis, and the price might be higher. Or in Illinois, the minimum wage is higher in this case. So if you live in Missouri, people are working. You're losing all the good workers across the border because they'd rather work someplace where they're making more, $12 to $15 an hour instead of the baseline. And this is states. None of them live like this. None of them actually can function like this anymore. And they're all getting mad that that's why red states and the Missouris of the world want a raise in the federal minimum wage, so that they don't have to do it themselves in the states. The governors and the state legislatures don't want to have to raise it and get everybody mad at them. They can let the federal government do it and then blame the federal government for having done it, even though they insisted and they voted for it. So, but if you move a factory here, one of the things that they tout about a factory job is that you can raise a family on it. Your wife doesn't have to work. You can have this Christo-fascist trad wife nonsense MAGA version of, of 50s life that they envision as sort of the perfect living example. You could have that on these factory jobs. Well, since prices have gone up and the cost of actually producing these things has gone up, your salary is going to have to go up, which is going to raise the cost of things. So the entire process of reinvigorating the manufacturing sector, even if you want it, even if you support it 100%, and even if they were able to get back to, anywhere near the number of manufacturing jobs we used to have back in the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, when that was basically everybody who wasn't farming. Even if you can get back to that, you're still chasing 3% inflation as the norm instead of 2%. What brought regular monetary inflation down to 2% was moving production out of the country. So I'm wearing my NASA shirt today because I love me some NASA. And I love the fact that they call this the meatball, the NASA logo,
I didn't
the
know
big
that.
round. Yeah, the big round blue ball with the NASA logo around it. They call it the meatball at NASA. One of the things that we got to do was we got to sit down and we had this thing called Chat with an Astronaut or Fly with an Astronaut, that you can go around and you do a tour with an astronaut. And we had a shuttle mission specialist named Bruce Melnick. And Bruce Melnick, he did 2 shuttle missions. He was the only one of only 2 Coast Guard. He's the first Coast Guard member to become. He was a Coast Guard helicopter pilot.
Oh, that's cool.
Really nice guy. Had some great stories. Of course, one kid asked how the toilets work. It was lovely.
Yeah.
And he was very forthcoming in his description. But it was his idea for the first 3-person EVA. So they had to catch a satellite, and every time they did it, it would start spinning out of control. And so they came up with this plan where he would operate the Canada arm, which is thanks Canada for the arm that was in the space shuttle. And he would operate that, and then there would be 3 guys out there to basically catch the thing because it's light as a feather because there's no weight. And so, they just have to lock onto it and not get shocked. And so 2 of them kept losing it, so they sent out a 3rd and whatever. Anyways, really great story.
Wait. What's this astronaut's last name again?
Melnick.
And where's Alf from?
The planet. Is he from the planet Melnick? No.
He might be. I just saw that on the Twitch chat. Sorry, I can't credit you.
Okay, that's entirely possible. Yes, but anyways, one of the things that he mentioned when he's like kind of table hopping and stuff, and he was talking to the table over, and I was kind of I was listening in on what he was saying. And one of the things he was talking about that with the Blue Origin thing, like SpaceX has eaten up a lot of the ink around what's going on with NASA, but Blue Origin and Virgin Galactic are also kind of nipping at their heels. And Blue Origin has an enormous facility now at Kennedy across the road from the main Kennedy Center. It's getting bigger all the time, especially as Musk has worn out his welcome and his rockets keep blowing up. So, and the Kuiper system, which is the Amazon version of Starlink, is launching this fall. So they've done a couple of tests already, and they're doing low Earth orbit satellite internet, just as well. And it'll be available, through your Amazon subscription or something like that, whenever they get it up there. But the point is, they're using that to fund each stage of what they're doing. And they're trying to do low Earth orbit astronauts so that they can be the commercial level that gets people into space for experiments and then ultimately to the moon and the like. So, but they're doing a lot of stuff. One of the things that Melnick was bringing up, because he's working with these guys because he used to work at Lockheed and he used to work at Boeing, and now he's retired, but he consults with all these, is that apparently the scuttlebutt around NASA is that Jeff Bezos wants to move all polluting production facilities off-world. Basically, like, think of it as factories in the sky that produce anything toxic. So if you're refining chemicals, you take the ore or whatever it is up into space, and then you will refine it up there, because in zero gravity, there is no pollution. And basically just move every factory on the planet to either low Earth orbit or moon orbit, and leave Earth for the people, so that there's none of that stuff. That's his long-term dream, according to what they're working towards. Now, whether that's a feasible or plausible long-term or what, I mean, obviously on a time scale, anything's possible. Whether it's possible in our lifetime is a question, but it's getting closer every day to possible. And that is the goal for Blue Origin, is a fascinating aspect of just how out of touch with how life is going to be that Trump and his ilk are. They're so living in the past, and we are moving at a speedy clip towards the future faster than ever before. We got to take a break. We'll be back right after this. It's the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide. Yeah, maybe he'll move it to the moon. Well, they're going to put NASA is working on putting a nuclear reactor on the moon to power everything there by 2030.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's, the device itself, I mean, obviously your big scary part is getting the material up there, because if the rocket blows up, you're spraying everybody with.
Yeah, when you're out there building it, you got to hold your breath.
It's not how it works at all. I will say, though, that the material used, size-wise in like a nuclear reactor on a sub is pretty small, and they can encase it in something that would survive any explosive concussion from the ship, that, like a black box kind of technology, where you could seal it in something that it can't come out unless you make it, if it fell from the sky like a meteor, it would still just bounce. You can do that. So more than likely, that's the part that they're going to do, because the mechanism itself is not that big a deal compared to a lot of the other stuff that's in space.
Oh my goodness, Buddha and the Eagle.
Oh, look at that. What's happening? Good to see you, Buddha and the Eagle.
Back in 15.
It's been a while. Yeah. Are you back in Maui? I hope so. You deserve some R&R. So yeah, thank you so much, Chicago.
You're locked into the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
So needless to say, the Trump-Putin gathering was a ferocious waste of time. Yeah. Embarrassed the living crap out of Trump. But on the world stage, MAGA is very aware of this. It is ubiquitous in all of the responses I have seen so far. There are a couple of turd polishers out there that are trying to clean up after him, but by and large, everybody is either not talking about it, which is way more telling. The silence is really the thing that stands out among some of these people, because they can always find something to say about Trump's strength, virility, intelligence, deal making, blah blah blah. They can make up a story of what they think might have happened, right? They can pretend, they could read pages out of Art of the Deal and pretend, oh, he's just playing 5D chess, right? They are always able to do this until they aren't.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, here we are. The MAGA land is in two camps. They are either the people who are not saying anything, or people who are actively criticizing that it looked bad. Now, if he'd have done this before the Epstein memo, do you think they would have said this? I don't think so. I think this is yet another example of Trump's presidency falling apart and his own mental and physical state falling apart in conjunction with that. That is caused that all these things are ornaments that hang off of the tree of the memo that says nothing to see here. That Pam Bondi and Kash Patel and Dan Bongholio's memo that they put out unsigned, that was leaked by somebody favorable to them to Axios in an attempt, we'll leak it to not our side, so they'll think they're getting something special and get out in front of it that way. Because we leak it to Fox, they'll go, dude, what is this? Right? You can't leak it to your own when they're expecting the opposite. You can only bury it if somebody else got it, and then hopefully they'll believe it was fake for a while, stir up the pot of the conversation for a while, and then that'll be that. But in this particular case, like once that happened, once that came out, everything since has carried the paranoia and distrust and lack of faith and the betrayal, I would argue, that maggots feel towards Donald Trump. That right now, that is at its zenith. And there is not a single thing he's doing that is not perceived as a distraction or another screw up.
You don't think he's forwarding all of his amazing policies and great ideas?
Hey, we got the hottest country in the world, and last year we were dead as a doornail, apparently, except not. So, I have to say, the fact that
all he can do is really set the National Guard loose on Washington, D.C.
Yeah, but even then, they get a sandwich thrown at them and chase some dude in a polo shirt down the street, and it's ridiculous. I don't know. Did you see the sandwich throwing? The great sandwich.
I did. That guy was given a felony at first.
Yeah, well, I would say this. Hey, kids, don't throw anything at a law enforcement official, especially when you're right up in their face and they can see you. And I don't see anything.
Yeah, because who's like, get assault by spitting, then a sandwich is little heavier than spit.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe the guy was like, "There's no mustard on this," and he has the reaction.
It was a big sandwich too. It's such a waste.
That was a solid foot long. It was
a full 12.
Yeah,
12.
And I now, but I and then of course he gets run down like Henry Winkler at the end of Night Shift. I have to rewatch that. It was all sandwich related. I stick to that. So I have to say, like, if most of these things, the price of consumer goods still continuing to climb, was that hurting Trump before the Epstein memo? A little here and there, but nothing that would cut into their feeling about him, kicking immigrants out of the country. Would his low numbers, especially in July, of immigrant deportations, would that have upset MAGA that much before the Epstein memo? I'd say no. I'd say they'd still find a way to go, oh, the best is yet to come, right? All of these things are ornaments that hang on the tree that grew from the acorn that was the Epstein memo. And none of it is going away. He does not. His axe is too dull and his arms too weak to chop down this tree. It is here to stay. And every problem that he runs into, every failed premise that he's put forth that's supposed to solve everything and then doesn't, is going to just add weight to this tree that is growing. And arguably even especially the Putin gathering this weekend. You and I both know maggots would not have paid attention to his. They call his wandering down the red carpet a swagger. They would have.
Oh, yeah?
I swear to God, They would have said he had swagger.
He swaggered so hard he almost broke a hip.
He swaggered himself right off the trail.
Yeah.
Right? And then do you think like they would have gone, he's letting Putin speak first so he knows what he's saying so he can react to it or whatever. So he, because he's he's a great deal maker. Nope. Now he just looks like weak, the weak guy who got off his plane first and let the other guy talk first and shook his hand like a grandma. Each one of these is building up in maggots' heads. And will they vote our way next time? No. If they had any brains, they would, but they won't. But I'm okay with that. I am totally fine with them just standing down. Now, ultimately, I want everybody to vote. I want everybody to participate in this democracy. That's what makes me a Democrat. We need everybody voting, because when people check out and they stop voting, that's when they tend to form militias and stuff. When they feel like they're not being heard, they do one of two things. They stop obeying laws and rules because they think they
start cutting the heads off of people.
Right. Or they start, building up little resistance groups in the Michigan woods, or mailing packages to people from a shed in Oregon, right? Or in upstate, California. So I want everybody to vote. I want everybody participating. And partly I feel comfortable saying that because if everybody in this country voted, the whole country would lean Democratic all the time. It just would. It wouldn't go super far left as much as people would want. It would still have limitations on it because there would be a balancing act that would happen between people's understanding of issues and what they're willing to pay for and what they're willing to put their effort into. That's just human nature, and you'd have to work with that. But it would definitely be center left, as we like to say, all the time. And the only way that Trump gets a win like he had last time, if indeed it was, because I understand there's a lot of questions about that election, and God knows the more if he cuts off any more Elon Musk contracts, there's a very strong chance we might find out that we're going to
find out how that worked.
Yeah, exactly. That'll get dumped on the airwaves. Like, he forced me to do it. It was a threat against my life and my family, right? That would be the thing. Or let Big Balls or one of these other guys leak it to the press. And again, remember, kids, you can't leak a lie. One of the big issues that they're going after Adam Schiff right now is the White House is trying to distract by going after him and saying he leaked classified information. Well, first of all, no, he didn't. Secondly, you're admitting it's true. He leaked classified information to make the president look bad. Oh, so what he put out was true. All right. Well, thanks for admitting to Trump's culpability in what Schiff put out. Right?
Leaks aren't lies.
Never can be. Otherwise, they'd just be a lie. That's how it works. So anyway, so the point overall is that we are in a situation, and we're getting close to this. Philip Ittner is going to be joining us from Kyiv. I'm sure he is going to have a take on the Russian, summit in Alaska, where Trump said he was going to Russia.
He's got all the new link information?
I believe so. Yes, I think so. We should be okay. But the issue going forward is that I think Trump is going to be spending the next couple of weeks trying to put toothpaste back in the tube. And this was such a failure this weekend. This was such a dud. It was like the season finale that nobody watched for Trump. These are the only terms he can kind of comprehend. The only standard by which he lives is ratings. And it was a dud. The whole thing was a mess. It was a farce. Everybody knew it. It ended with a whimper. It started with him whimpering, and I got to say, the only way he'll be able to regain any strength in his footing may be by supporting Ukraine, by recognizing that Putin embarrassed him and took advantage of him, and he's just going to have to deal. We got to take a break. We'll be back right after this with Philip Ittner joining us from Kyiv. It's the Hal Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Nice. All right, I'm going to refill my coffee while you connect Phil.
Son of a... Well, okay, I want to make sure... yeah. Does he have... sorry. Lev and Malcolm were questioning whether that was a Putin double based on all their observation experience. Not conspiracy dudes, that's for sure. Yeah, CSL, it's amazing. And does Phil have the link? This one, the new one for this one? Hope so. Yeah, I mean, that part's hilarious. That they would, and that they would send a double is so them. I mean, he's got a few good ones, and Trump wouldn't notice. I almost feel like after going to Disneyland. Hold on, let me pop back in here. Let's see. Can I do this? What do I do? Thanks, Johnny. Okay. Oh. There we go. At Disneyland, they have these little bands that you wear where you can buy things, and you can, when you have a lightning pass for a ride, you just walk up and put this little like watch thing up to it. It's basically an RFID chip with a little LED light in it. It's fine, but the ability to like use it for stuff, you'd start getting so used to it. You can get in your hotel room that way, but when you enter the park, though, you can't just put your band on because it could be anybody. So there's a fingerprint associated with it. So you walk up and you put your band up, and then you put your finger on there, and it checks your fingerprint against the band you're wearing. So you're not just selling bands, I guess, or buying a pass, like a year-round pass, and then handing it out. And, hey, we'll just wear my band and get in. It's very smart. So I'm waiting for Johnny to get back. We'll see. Oh, and Phil's here. Good. Okay, hold on. Hey, Phil. There you are.
Hey,
can you hear me okay?
Yep, sure can.
Excellent. I just brought you on real quick just to check this. Looking good. Looking good, sir. And then, yeah, Johnny will be with us in just a moment.
Button.
Uh-oh. Easy.
Easy.
You don't have to do the hard sell. You've already got the ladies all aflutter with the beard. So, well, I
am in the midst of
prepping
a
for your
crazy mammoth show. I may have bitten off more than I can chew. My poor editor is probably going to be up until the wee hours of the morning.
Sure.
I mean, we've been filming since 11 a.m. and It is now 8 p.m. And we stopped about 2 hours ago. And I started uploading all these things because my editor works remotely. He lives about 15 miles out of the city. So,
right.
It's a huge endeavor. We interviewed. How many people did we interview? 10, something like that. We got Malcolm. We got Malcolm Nance. He was kind enough to join us. John Sweeney, the former BBC correspondent,
thanks, Chicago.
Who had actually interviewed Putin.
Sorry, I'm just going to check with Chicago.
Yeah, I got you. Okay. Anyhow,
here we go. We'll come back.
You're listening to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
I've had people walk out of me before, but not when I was being so charming.
Video streaming at halsparks.com.
I don't care for you or for the putrid slut you're troweling out.
Puss-faced little pimp stick.
True progressive talk.
Might be a good time for you guys to give up.
Welcome back to the show. Joining us live from Kyiv, and the hardest working man in war blogging, I guess, right now, especially today, our dear friend Philip Ittner, host of On the Edge. You should subscribe to his YouTube channel at Philip Ittner, 1L, and Philip, 2 T's, and Ittner, and you can subscribe to the show there, help it out. Of course, Johnny Million joining us after he's returned from cat duty.
How about that sweater on Phil? You look amazing.
Yeah, it's good.
Like that?
He's our adjunct professor. Yeah, and he's got his thing mirrored so we can't read his tattoo. So do you, by the way. You can flip your camera if you want.
But if I can flip that.
Yeah. So you were just telling us you've been working on your show all day, putting a special episode together.
Yeah.
Because of this.
Because of what happened in Alaska.
Summit.
Well,
yeah.
Because I realized early in the week that anything that I was going to record when anybody would fall under the shadow of this meeting, whether or not that turned out to be true or not, I don't know. But regardless, so I set up a whole long list of prior guests who had been on the show to come in and talk 5, 10, 15 minute long little reaction to what happened in Alaska, and I spoke to both people who have expertise in the area, like Malcolm Nance, who of course is one of the best in the world on global security, and of course he was here in Ukraine and fought alongside Ukrainians, and is still in touch with soldiers here. I spoke to John Sweeney, who has interviewed both Trump and Putin, and has got a long list of books out there. But then of course, more, perhaps most importantly, we spoke to a whole range of Ukrainians who have different areas to talk about. We got Kira Rudik, who is a member of the parliament. She's an opposition member of the parliament. She left Zelensky's party and is now in a different one. And we got the head of the Foreign Affairs Council, Alexander Mereshko. And then we talked to just some, Ukrainians. Right. There's a wonderful advocate out in Kharkiv, Anastasia, who we had on the show previously. And of course, Kharkiv is right at the, right on the battle edge.
Yeah.
And so here she is getting shot at while these, sorry, I have to remember we're on the radio.
Yes, right.
Well done.
She's out there getting shot at while these guys are glad handing in Anchorage. And then we spoke to a girl from Crimea, who, of course, has been exiled from her native land, and again, sitting there watching these guys glad hand up in Alaska. So we have a long list. Those are about half of the people we spoke to. So this is going to run long. My poor editor is probably going to be working all night long on this thing. And I hope we will make our deadline, but if we're an hour or two, or maybe more than an hour or two late, that's why.
Yeah.
Because we really took on a lot of,
and I'm sure everybody, there was a variety of responses. What was your take though on topic? Because we talked about it a little bit in the first hour, obviously, but what was your first, what was your first take on like the theatrics of the whole thing and what is alleged to have gone on? Because I want to talk to you after the next break. I want to talk to you about what allegedly Trump possibly agreed to or tried to agree to and that kind of stuff. But what was your overall take on?
At first, I thought it was kind of kabuki theater. Yeah. That it was all this performative, and that nothing was. Nothing came of it really, except for a photo op. Really, the more we're starting to hear about what may have been discussed, the more people here in Ukraine are getting very nervous about what might happen in an upcoming Trump and Zelensky meeting or discussion. So I was pretty dismissive of it, but I'm starting to think that Putin is basically getting Trump to do his dirty work, and we'll see what happens. But I think, like that ride in the Beast. What did they talk about? What did they talk about when they were alone in the back of, the Trump's armored limousine?
You think think Putin showed him pictures of from the P-tape on his Apple Watch? Just was sitting there while he's talking, just scrolling through images.
You in part jest there, but actually, I do. I think Putin has got something on Trump that absolutely compromises him.
On Congress.
Okay, so and then
the Republican hack, the Republican Party hack, the GOP hack that happened at the same time as the DNC hack in 2016 was never released.
Yes,
the Russians kept it.
Yeah,
yeah,
and that's I mean that's that in and of itself is sort of points to, you know, and on the one end it looks at like a friendly gesture. On the other end, it also looks at which side you think you have long-term compromise on versus short-term compromise on. I would argue that that's the problem that Trump runs into with the Epstein issue, is that if there are Democrats involved, Bill Clinton, Richardson, any of these other people that might have been favorable to the Democratic Party, there'll be a kerfuffle about it, but that'll be over. Like, the Democrats will jettison that person very easily. Republicans will have a much harder time exercising these kind of people out of their party, especially Trump. So you can't remove him as easily. So you hold that compromise longer because it has more value. If you dump this stuff on Democrats, they'll go, okay, we don't like that person anymore. Next, we like our ideas. We don't care. It's not a cult of personality. But on the right, it absolutely is. And these, all they need is for 3 to 4% of their voters to not show up, and they're decimated every time. Democrats can take a bit of a hit like that. That's why we probably hit more, closer to 8 or 9% in the last election, which is what makes it pitiful. That said, the two leaders coming out of the planes and Trump coming out first, and
breaking protocol, that breaks protocol.
Him,
that breaks protocol. That's not normal.
Well, yeah, and also the fact that it was even a thing, you know what I mean? Like letting them land and sit in their planes at all in the first place, and that you would do this kind of like meeting like it was 2 dressing rooms on a series. Just, I mean, maybe it's my history with circumstances like that. I've had a couple of experiences with actors who will not come out of the trailer until everybody else is there. They're not going to wait on anybody else, and it becomes a power play. It really does.
Yeah,
and it's gross.
Like that's what my agent told me to do, Hal. I didn't know what to say.
I'll never forgive you. But and I'm doing this whole show from my trailer. I'm not coming out. But in all seriousness, I hate it because it makes the staff and the crew wait. It's terrible.
Yeah.
That said, these guys don't care about the average working person. There's certainly not anybody on this military base, who are now more endangered than they were before because Putin and his people were allowed to traipse all over the place. He brought all these business leaders with him, which was another coaxing tool to get Trump on board. Just the fact that Trump kept bringing up that there are these business leaders with him. He brought a bunch of people, from Russian businesses. Okay, first of all, the oligarchy over there is the fusion of government and these businesses is well known. You almost can't bring government officials without also bringing the fact that they run, Gazprom or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So at the same, but that they brought other industries like they're treating this like a trade meeting. When again, Trump, is just overlooking that he's glad-handing with this war criminal is just brutal. And I have to say, I don't see the European leaders going, okay, yeah, that's how we're going to have to do this then. If Trump says so, it just came across as so weak. Yeah. Well, let's tell you what. Let's take a quick early break, like about a minute early. And when we come back, I want to talk about some of the reporting about what was allegedly said inside the actual meetings. New York Times has a report. Beast has a report. There's NPR and the AP have obviously got pool reporting on what was happening there, and not the least of which, of course, the documents that were left on the printer. Oh boy, we'll be back right after this. It's the Hal Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide. Yeah.
It's ugly.
Yeah, and Trump, he talked on his way there, but as soon as the plane was arriving, he stopped talking to the press entirely. He didn't even say hi to them when he was leaving. He usually, he waves at his favorites like Brian and the other folks from RSBN who are in that, right? He wouldn't even speak to them, and everybody was like, this dude is nervous. Genuinely. Yeah. Hold on, let's see. Where's the shot of this guy?
I think Buddha and the Eagle has donated $108 3 times now today.
Oh my God. Thank you so much. Even if he did it just once and we're seeing it 3 times, I appreciate it.
No, I've seen us show up 3 different times in the chat. This most recent time was to get a question.
Stand by, coming back.
Thank you, Chicago.
Welcome back to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
So Trump only spoke for 3 minutes on the podium. Putin spoke for maybe 7 or 8 minutes. Definitely ate up all the, and then they stood there for a picture and then walked off. It was very telling they didn't take any questions. People yelled them, but they didn't answer. They just left. Trump was annoyed that somebody else had yelled like at Putin, "Are you going to stop killing civilians?" He said something along the lines of, "That one's crazy," to Putin because of who asked that question. Yeah, like it's crazy to ask somebody to stop killing civilians. That said, New York Times are reporting a couple of things about what was in there. One was that he thinks they should give up unoccupied territory. We've known this about him for a while. He's brought this up sort of before, that they, or it's been floated before, wherever it came from, right?
Yeah.
And so what was the other one? So anyways, primarily about that. Let's start there. Let's start with the unoccupied territories, land that Russia hasn't even taken yet. He's trying to argue that to get a peace deal, Zelensky and the Europeans should do it, and that what they get in return is a written statement from Vladimir Putin that he won't attack again.
I mean, it's
signed Epstein's mother.
Yeah.
Well, Putin, the Russians are not, they don't have a great track record of keeping their promises. So I would say that any kind of written promise from Vladimir Putin isn't worth the paper it's written on. I mean, some of this stuff, look, out in Donetsk and Luhansk, the 2 oblasts, states or provinces, that the Russians have been fighting over since 2014, really.
Yeah.
A lot of Ukrainians are at the place where they're like, we can let that go. The other 2 provinces that are in kind of mainland Ukraine, Zaporizhia and Kherson, that's DOA. That is unacceptable. It would be like saying, and I've used this analogy before, but we took San Diego, so give us all of California.
Yeah.
It's insane and it's unacceptable, and it only positions the Russians to come back in 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, whatever years.
Right. Yeah.
The sticky wicket is, as they say, is Crimea.
Yeah.
And that's going to be difficult to resolve.
Yeah.
That's really going to be difficult to resolve, because while Kiev might say Donetsk and Lugansk have been invaded and occupied for so long that they've been, 10 years of Russian indoctrination. They
moved all the Ukrainian children out and brought in a bunch of Russians and moved families in there, specifically, not just giving them financial incentive, but forcibly moving Russian families close to that area, going, guess what? This is where you live now. And and you better be willing to defend your home front if somebody tries to take it from you and be anti-Ukraine. One of the other aspects too is that he wants Russian to become the language of Ukraine. What? And Trump obviously barely speaks English, so the idea that he wouldn't he was like, what, isn't it already? Like, it seems like he's so stupid. Is there a difference between? They sound the same. What's the big deal? It's it's like when Mandarin's wiping out Tagalog and wiping out Cantonese and Shanghainese and all the other dialects in China, like a lot of Trump and his ilk are going to go, they all sound like gibberish to me anyway, so why don't they just pick one, right?
Yeah.
It's absurd. But he's literally, that was one of the demands that allegedly, according to people, in the European Union who spoke on condition of anonymity, so take that with you, as you will, but that was one of his other demands, was that Russia would become the official language and that the Russian Orthodox Church would be allowed to operate back in Ukraine again, which again is because he uses them as satellite, spy agencies.
It's not a religion. It's not a church.
Yeah.
It's a fifth column. It's a fifth column. I see people, asking would I interview Kaylin Robertson. Go check my channel out. I already did. Kaylin was going to join me on the reaction video, but it was just getting too much. As far as the Russian Orthodox Church, it's a fifth column. It's not a church. The head of the Russian Orthodox Church is a former KGB agent,
right?
Who wants to be pope. He wants to be an Orthodox pope, which is completely anathema to the entire structure and belief system of Orthodox. The Orthodox Church is meant to be local churches. They're meant to service the local population. They speak to the faithful of wherever they're located. So you can have a patriarch of the Serbian Orthodox Church, or you can have the patriarch of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church. A patriarch Kirill wants to structure himself like a pope, and again, not to keep touting my own channel, but I had an interview with a Ukrainian Orthodox priest, a patriarch here, and he was adamant that we don't bow down to a pope, and we're not going to bow down to a patriarch in Moscow, especially one that is a spy.
Yeah, but it's not going to matter because they're just going to, because again, it's not actually a church.
Well, and also all of this, the other thing that bothered me about what we saw in Anchorage was you had one side of the equation, the Russian side of the equation, with guys who were stone cold experts. I mean, these were guys, serious men with a long history of expertise in their area. Yushakov is a wily SOB. Lavrov, at one point, and I would argue still is, one of the best foreign dignitaries on the planet. This guy, I saw Lavrov in Geneva during the Iran nuclear talks, absolutely runs circles around everybody. Nobody could touch him. And I'm not just talking about John Kerry.
He showed up wearing a CCCP shirt.
Yeah, in Anchorage,
He showed up on a U.S. military base wearing a shirt that means USSR. Not Russia, not the Russian flag, but the old Soviet Union, which allegedly does not exist anymore. You want to talk about the fact that they want to obliterate? What does that tell you about? Because Ukraine was a part of the old Soviet Union. That's what he's saying. It's ours. One of the reasons, Trump wants this meeting with Zelensky and Putin. Putin apparently said he wasn't going to meet with him because he's not a legitimate president because it's a made-up country. This is all a non-starter. And again, if the response, what they're saying is, in exchange for giving away lands that Russia has not conquered yet and giving back Kursk, I guess, and allowing them to build up but not have NATO protection, but you can have security guarantees, whatever that means, right? Well, I got news for you. The Europeans and the United States and NATO have already signed agreements with Russia in the past that they wouldn't attack ever again. The Russian NATO founding agreement of 1997. I bring it up again and again because in it is literally a passage that says if Ukraine wants to join NATO, they can. They're allowed. We don't care. We have no say in it. That you're fine. Every country is a sovereign country. They have the ability to defend themselves or provide for their own security in whatever manner they see fit. And that would include joining NATO. Ukraine has the right to join NATO based on the 1997 founding agreement, period, end of story. And Russia has no reason to complain about it because they signed on to it in 1997. And if anybody thinks that the Ukrainians are going to take some sort of written agreement from Putin that he won't attack again, they've already got 3 of them, including that one.
Yeah.
And what did they lose in each of these? We'll give up our nuclear weapons. We'll give up any kind of border security, that we would build up, and missile defense and those kind of things. We'll give up our actual, at one point, hope of being in NATO or punt it for 2 decades. Why would you even want that? What's the difference? If it's now, whether it's now or in 20 years, what is them being a part of NATO if they're going to eventually be there? What's the difference doing it right now? It only matters if you're planning on attacking them in the next 20 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they'll just go back. They'll just go back. They'll lick their wounds. They'll rebuild their military. Trump will lift sanctions, and they'll get the cash will start flowing again, and then they'll just come back. They'll just come back. Their stated goal is to destroy Ukraine.
Right, and Putin says in the meeting he doesn't want to meet with Zelensky because he views him as a fake president of a fake country. Yeah. The fourth, and I'll quote this directly from the founding document, NATO-Russian founding document of 1997. The fourth tenet: respect for sovereignty, independence, and territorial integrity of all states and their inherent right to choose the means to ensure their own security. The inviolability of borders and people's right of self-determination as enshrined in the Helsinki Final Act and other OSCE documents. That means if they want to join NATO, they can join NATO, and there's not a problem. And Russia's okay with that. And that was signed in 1997. And what did Putin do in I would say arguably leading up to 2014, then in 2014, and then again, in 2022.
2008. Don't forget 2008, right. when they invaded Georgia. Yeah.
Right. So the idea that people are, that we're going to get a signed piece of paper from these maniacs, and that's what and again, what do you mean security guarantee? Unless we're putting, and again, we have, Americans are going to have skin in this because of the mineral deal. Because it isn't just that we're going to buy whatever they're selling and they're going to sell it to us at a cheaper price. It's that American companies and their American employees are going to be working in areas that run right up against Luhansk and Donetsk, where these areas are for these mines, and they themselves will be in this firing line. You want to talk about a security guarantee? What it's going to be is a lot of American pedestrians walking around. And I got news for you. When it comes to Vladimir Putin, it's going to have about as much value as Hamas cared about where the people they were taking hostage came from. They took people from America and the Philippines, and they took, anybody who was at that dance festival. They killed them indiscriminately. Russia's doing the exact same thing. So if they want this to pop off, what's the difference between an American being shot or killed by a bomb and the 5-inch rule in terms of NATO, that if they expand in 5 inches or an attack on one is an attack on all the Article 5. What's the difference between that and they kill a bunch of people at a factory that they blow up, or partisan fights that start happening because you got rogue Russians in these places that are going to want to reclaim these places, or in Crimea where you're going to have partisans who are going to be fighting to take back their own land, even if a deal is made by the Rado, in Russia and Zelensky and the parliament in Ukraine. That doesn't mean the Crimeans have to take it. Hell, at a certain point, the Turks might decide they still want to lay claim to it. They were run out by the Russians in the first place.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're building their authoritarian scheme as we speak. Turkey is the second scariest country in all of Europe. in a lot of ways after in the European area, the continent, along with Russia. We got to take a break. We'll be back right after this. We got a bunch of questions, including one for Buddha and the Eagle, for Phil and others,
Sure.
and so we'll be back right after this.
Great.
Yeah, that's one of the most aggravating parts of this for me is like a written agreement. You insane?
Yeah.
We had a written agreement.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be something tangible, and not on the Russian side. I think the Europeans should, or at least a European nation or a collection of European nations, say categorically, you come back, instantly we're involved. No-fly zone, arm them to the teeth. Polish troops inside Ukraine. Whatever it takes. Short of that, they're not going to take anything seriously. They think they think we're idiots. They really do. So it's and the other thing is, and I've spoken to so many people today about
back in 15.
Great.
Thank you.
Is that we got to stop thinking that Kiev is a pawn to be played in some larger geopolitical. This is a sovereign nation, and if Brussels and Washington don't understand that colonization is over, they're not going to bend the knee to Moscow. They're sure as heck.
Welcome back to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
So we have several questions, Johnny, for Phil. Let's what do you got?
The first one here I've got is from Buddha and the Eagle. This is for Phil. Hi, Phil. Long time, and thank you for your sacrifice. Smiley face. You watched firsthand how Putin took control of Russia. What similarities do you see with Trump, and how do you feel about coming home to an armed, masked, $150 billion police force on the U.S. streets?
Well, that didn't happen in Russia. Putin did not militarize. He didn't have to, really. They've got a paramilitary security, domestic security force anyhow. And I've always been an opponent of that. There's no need why the Saginaw police needs a MRAP from Iraq. It's just a way to shuffle off old military surplus stuff, and militarizing our police, I think, is a terrible idea. That's neither here nor there when it comes to Russia. The similarities I see is the immediate censorship and the attack on freedom of speech. And one of the first things that Vladimir Putin did in the 90s, and you're right, I was there during the 90s when Putin was coming up through the ranks and eventually would take over from Yeltsin. He went after independent media. That was the first thing he did, and not just news. He went after there was an old television show that was beloved in Russia, and it was kind of the version of Britain's Spitting Image with these foam caricature puppets. And they had the exact same kind of thing in Russia called kukli, or dolls. And they would attack everybody. They made fun of everybody who was prominent in, both in politics and society and all the rest of it. One of the first things Putin did was he took control of the network it was on, and he canceled that show. I mean, sound familiar?
Yeah.
So I see that, and I think we should all have, alarm flares going off all the time when it comes to that kind of stuff. The other thing is Putin brought to heel the oligarchy, and he made them, kiss the ring sort of thing. There's some similarity there, I think. But it is this move towards an autocratic oligarchy that we saw in the very beginning stages of Putin's reign. And thank God that most of the people in the MAGA movement and Trump himself are idiots, so they don't have the smarts to make that actually happen. But they can still, it's still a blunt object in the hands. So in the hands of pretty despicable human beings. So anyhow, those are some of the similarities I see. If I think of another one, I'll shout.
Yeah, do you think there was also, I think, and this is the problem that I think MAGA is running up against, is that the Russian populace was primed for that kind of fascist takeover, whereas the United States, even among the MAGA faithful, are primed for the opposite, for distrust of the federal system, distrust of folks like that, and even after a while, again, we had that Bundy standoff in the United States over use of land or whatever. That's more likely to happen in a bunch of situations once the right starts, feeling encroached on. They just don't think it's going to be them for a while, but their paranoia, their reflex paranoia, I think drives them in a lot of ways to be distrustful of this situation. Like the running gag is that the government is, the source of all evil. So the idea that, Trump is the president and he'll be their savior, that the man is now their man, so they're okay with it. That they're running up against a wall with that. And I think, they're all a little scared that, like, what happens if Dems take over and we've legalized masked cops on our streets? Then what, right? Because I got news for you, though. If Dems, when Dems take over, they're not going to have anything to worry about unless they commit a crime. But their own paranoia is what's going to trigger this. Because
there's one other similarity that occurs to me just now, is also the fact that so much of what happened with Putin's rise was the resentment and the response to the chaos of the 90s, the collapse of the Soviet Union. The 90s were really chaotic in Russia, and so there was a fear and a resentment of that period of time where they were like, just give us somebody who's going to take control. And so that's what Putin was kind of in response to that. And I think there's a lot of that in, the people who follow Trump, is this kind of this grievance and resentment and like the chaos and, we don't understand this changing world and we don't like it, so let's just put in an autocrat. And I think there's similarities there as well. So.
Right. Well, Johnny, grab another one if we could, real quick.
Sure thing. All right, so I've got one from Ed's 3D Tech. Can you ask Philip about the processing plant for helium Ukraine destroyed in Russia and the implications for missiles used by Russia in the future?
Used by Russia or used by Ukraine?
It says Russia.
There's a lot of missile technology that's being developed by the Russians, hypersonic technology and things like that. But I'm guessing he meant the other way around, because Ukraine is also developing longer range missiles that can shoot deeper and further into the Russian Federation, and places where they previously thought were safe are now increasingly coming under threat by Ukrainian missiles, because they are definitely trying to develop longer range stuff to try and take the battle to the Russians and to hit infrastructure that, as I say previously, would have been pretty safe. The importance of helium, helium is used in a lot of different missile technology and a lot of different, there's like a coolant agent for them, so I think that might have something to do with why they struck helium in particular, because it's used in a lot of different ways for weaponry. So that's my guess. That I would hazard that is my guess. But the thing is, the Ukrainians, they don't just shoot at anything. They purposefully hit things. So there must be a version, a usage of helium for weaponry or for yeah. This is folks are pointing this out as well. Is that this is about fuel. This is about coolant. Using helium as a coolant for rocket fuel. So that might very well be the reason why they did that.
Yeah, it's the only. I want to say, is it Orenburg or something like that? Orenburg. Anyways, it's the only helium facility in Russia. It's one of the biggest ones, if not the biggest one in Europe, and it's largely used for aviation fuel in the space industry and for rocket fuel and for purging the rockets. Like I think before launch, even to clean them so that they fly straight, essentially. It's one of the other, there's a myriad of uses, but they hit the only place that can do it. And that's you don't have long range rockets unless you have a source of helium. So that it is an absolutely integral site, largely up until, this mess, until Putin took over. Most people thought that helium would just be used for space travel, for Soyuz and for, the rocket system that we were in cooperation with the rest of the world. That NASA worked with, the Russians on. But since the war started, and I would argue since Chechnya and Georgia, that, primarily what they're really using it for is for rocket fuel and to for ballistic missiles and the like. Again, they'll need it if they want a nuclear program. They'll need it if they want to be able to launch intercontinental ballistic missiles. They're going to have a source of helium for all those things too. So yeah, it was a super valuable target.
Yep.
Can I keep going?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. So from 56 Nick Ridge, can you ask Phil if any protests continue in Ukraine?
Oh, always. Yeah. No, the protests obviously you're referring to were the recent large-scale protests, largest protests that we've had in Ukraine since probably Maidan, because without going into great detail, there was this issue about the independence of a bunch of anti-corruption investigators and authorities and prosecutors. And then Zelensky backtracked on it. The Zelensky side of the argument is that while they were independent, they had been infiltrated by pro-Russian or Russian, sympathizers, and that's why he was bringing it into control of the administration in the form of the general prosecutor. The other side of the argument says no, these guys have got to remain independent. And that abuse of power by the general prosecutor and consolidating power in anti-corruption efforts is oftentimes misused, rather I should say, by the central government. Look, it's a democracy. That's one of the things that needs to be pointed out. Had those protests happened on the streets of St. Petersburg or Moscow, they would have been met with riot police instantly. But those protests here in Kiev and around Ukraine went off, more or less peacefully. So it's another example of how Ukraine is a flawed, but a fledgling democracy, but a democracy nevertheless. So those protests have more or less ended because the issue was resolved. But it does tell the powers that be here in Ukraine that there's still street power, and people will take to the streets and they will get their voices heard.
I think it's a good sign overall. Anyways, even if we disagree with the protesters, the idea they're an emblem of the protest that is you're allowed to have. One of my arguments about why you should allow the American flag to be burned is because you have the freedom to burn it. If you take away that freedom, you take away its symbolism at the same time. Like that's why the American flag is the Obi-Wan Kenobi of flags. If you strike it down, it only becomes stronger. And because it's supposed to be it is supposed to be a symbol not just of what the the kind of apple pie kind of rah part of it, but also the ability to protest and redress of grievances towards your government and the like. And so when people are protesting, even when they're protesting Zelensky, that's a good thing, because it shows that nobody's afraid under this guy. As much as their protest might be about, we don't like him, we think he needs to do, the fact that they can protest at all shows, unlike in Russia, they're not afraid that Zelensky will harm them for protesting. And that is a huge step from Russia. That, and again, anytime somebody's protesting, they are in essence showing that the system that they're under is superior to anywhere that wouldn't allow it. Period. I find it fairly ironic when you do see people waving flags for countries or causes where obviously they would be put down if they did it in that actual place, which is hilarious, but you could do it in the United States, and they're trying to make the argument that America's bad in that situation. That's kind of adorable. So when the Russians go after the Ukrainians for being corrupt or trying to undervalue the democracy that does exist there, the reality is that as long as these people are protesting, it proves they do not fear their government. And that they do believe still that they have the ability to make a difference in their country, which is antithetical to everything that Russia stands for. We'll take a break, and we'll come back with more of your questions for Phil right after this.
Yeah, the other thing about it is it just shows the nature of the Ukrainian people. They will if they don't have a common enemy, they will really go at one another.
Right. I mean, we deal with that as well. And the thing is, I think partly, or I suppose unfortunately, that there always has to be something to struggle against that you're aware of, because it does exist, no matter how comfortable it seems, even if you're not being, attacked from the outside. The fight between our better and our baser natures is a fight worth fighting all the time. And so, people lose sight of that when things aren't really cut and dry, like bombs being dropped on your head, right? Yep. And it could slip into that autocracy if you're not careful. And I think that's one of the things that's like why it's important to teach civics in school, why it's important to, teach kids how to be a functional member of a society, especially with the ones with more freedoms. I mean, it's pretty easy to teach somebody how to be a member of a society that's only got like 6 rules. You do these, you're fine. You don't do them, you're dead. Like, that gets pretty simple. You don't really have to teach much, but you have to really craft a citizen when there's a lot of room. Thank you.
I am happy, you are happy, let us be happy together, whether the weather is cloudy or sunny. I will always be your funny honey bunny. I am lucky, you are lucky, let us get lucky together, whether the weather is cloudy or breezy. I'll be there to say, hey, come on, let's take it easy. 'Cause isn't it nice to have the friends that you do? And isn't it nice that the sky is so blue? And isn't it nice to say I love you, chugga chugga choo choo, woo woo. I am smiling, you are smiling, let us smile together, whether the weather is cloudy or stormy. I will still be there in the morning. I'll be right by your side in the morning. I'll make you breakfast in the morning. I hope that you like cereal.
Yay! Hooray! Yay! So I know we have more questions, but I do want to point out a couple of things. One is that we didn't get to have Friday Eye this week on my live stream because I was traveling when that came out. But and I was, I got to go to NASA, to the Kennedy Center when we were down in Florida. We went yesterday, and it was we got a tour from Bruce Melnick, who's a shuttle mission specialist. It was really great, wonderful, and it was very, I would say, inspiring. NASA especially, about what a country can do and achieve when it's not worrying about fighting the rest of the people on the planet. Right? When it's not at war with itself and not at war with the rest of the world, when it's just the challenges that are in front of it. Now, NASA is certainly born out of the space race, and that challenge pushed everybody, but it was more like an Olympic competition than a battle-ready one. and it's the sacrifice of the astronauts that they show there is just a beautiful thing. And Jim Lovell's they had a wreath for him there and a display because he just passed away. And he's for those that don't know, he's who Tom Hanks played in Apollo 13 in the movie, and they have the entire telecom center that they spoke to them, when they were on these Apollo missions in that space at Kennedy. It's the actual machines, and they don't have computers. They literally don't. They have screens that show data, which is not a computer. They don't do anything. They just reference the switches that are thrown, and everything was analog. And there's a dial on the top of, like for an old dial phone, on the top of every kiosk, every desk.
Oh, wow.
That built into the system that was there. And what they were able to achieve was orbiting and then ultimately landing on the moon. And at some point, we're going to cast off these childish things like killing each other over limited resources when we do not need them anymore, and get about that business again. And it was very inspiring to walk around that thing. And as much as we have issues with the Elon Musks of the world, and he and Bezos fighting is like watching Godzilla and Mechagodzilla, fight. You're like, eventually one of them's going to step on us if we're not careful, no matter who wins. The Blue Origin site that is being built across there, that is in competition with SpaceX now to actually carry industry and work to space and all that kind of stuff, was also like, they're solid people working there, whatever people think about him, working there every day to try and do all kinds of experiments in space and do that kind of stuff, and risking their lives and their livelihoods doing this. And we forget about that sometimes. I think one of the founders of Nike just donated $2 billion to cancer research last week.
Christ.
There's this constantly stuff like this is going on, but he gets eaten alive by Donald Trump looking like a dunderhead standing, next to Putin after his fresh colonoscopy by, Sergei Lavrov. And it eats up a lot of what we think of the world, but the world does spin on.
Yeah.
And so we got to remind ourselves of that on the regular. That said, let's get some final questions so I don't eat up all that time. But
this is from Seattle, Susie Q. Please ask Phil about the legislator who left Zelensky's party. Why did she leave? And are there others that might leave and weaken Zelensky?
This is Kira Rudik, who I've interviewed before on the show, and had her back for this kind of reaction compilation we're doing. She left because she just has strong disagreements with Zelensky, and the servant of the people party that he started. So she is now a member of kind of an opposition party called Golis or Voice. Her difference in opinion with Zelensky is I think partly that he does run his party top down, very much so. It is Zelensky's party, and I think she just wanted, to be in a party that had much more give and take amongst the membership. She is. I mean, I've spoken to her a couple of times, as I say, and I mean, she still thinks that Zelensky is the right man at the right time. She is proud to have him as her president. She defends him against, as I said before, Ukrainians will bicker and argue amongst themselves, as long as they, for ages and ages. But God forbid somebody attacks one of their own.
Mm-hmm.
So she is still a supporter of Zelensky in the sense that he is the elected president, and she thinks, is the wartime president. So,
right,
it wasn't any massive disagreement with him. I think she just wanted more autonomy.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be tough in the middle of Churchill went through a very similar situation, you know, they're literally in the middle of the war. There's like, you know, there's going to be a multiple differences of opinions, and yet, you know, you might want to be more inclusive in your normal governance, but in wartime, I would imagine
she tells
yeah.
in the episode that I did with her, the full hour-long interview that I did with her on the channel, she tells a absolutely stirring moment. I mean, really, like heartstrings, all the feels. The first, you know, the day of the large-scale invasion and the initiation of full-scale war, they raced down to the Rada, to the parliament, and every color of politician agreed. They said, as long as this war continues, we vow not to turn on one another. That's fraying on the edges, but she tells the story of every color of politician in the Rada signing into effect martial law while singing the Ukrainian national anthem, and unified as one. And again, it's frayed at the edges. It's exhausting being at war for 3.5 years, and goodness knows how much longer this is going to go on. Right. I don't think Alaska did anything to shorten this war. If anything, I think it's going to prolong it. But you know, as desperate and as tired and as exhausted, and as I say, as much as that agreement is fraying at the edges, Ukrainians are still very much unified in the fact that there was a recent Gallup poll that said 68% of them want the war to be ended. That they want the Ukrainian government to end the war. And a lot of people said, see, they're against this warmonger Zelensky. Well, that's not true.
No,
everybody wants this war to end. Everybody.
Right.
I mean, Ukrainians especially. But only if it is a peace that can be sustained and it's just, and it contains certain things like getting the kids back.
That's the sticking point, isn't it? Just
and secure and lasting.
Yeah, right. First of all, I don't think anybody trusts any written statement from Russia about what they will do in the future. If security guarantees will have to mean boots on the ground and military vehicles and stuff driven by Europeans and Americans and others, or they won't be guarantees at all. And I got to tell you, I don't feel particularly, comfortable. Whoops! Let's try to do this one. Sorry, Johnny. There you go. With this guy driving the conversation. You know, one of the things that they pointed out was Trump's, peace through cankles thing that he was doing. And during all the jokes being made of him coming off a plane late and all that, first, and then letting, Putin talk first and all that kind of stuff. I'll put that all aside. The man looked like a wreck, terrified, exhausted, beaten down. And that should come as no surprise to anyone. Because, like you've said, there is a very strong chance that these guys, that they've got something on him, and there's only so much room he's got. He can only operate, within a very narrow margin.
Yeah.
Because I gotta say, like, he looked awful. We're almost out of time. I want to remind everybody to check out your show whenever it comes up tomorrow on the Edge. It's going to be a very special episode. There's lots of people reacting to the stunning waste of time and taxpayer dollars and embarrassment that was the Alaska 2025 something. I don't know if it's a summit, but it was a something.
Good to see all those Ukrainian flags on the streets of Anchorage. I got to say that.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah. They were not messing around. So, and on that note, appreciate you guys, and I will see you guys next week. Don't forget, Johnny Million has a live stream too. It's Johnny Million on Twitch and YouTube, and of course, I live stream at infotainmentwars.com, and whatever source you like, I'm probably there. We'll be back next week.
Bye. Yeah.
There you go.
Thanks, guys. Did you see my last job title?
Thanks, Chicago.
Your mom. Oh God. I like at some point.
Philip, you work with children.
Yeah,
Yep,
you do.
That's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys, I got to run because I gotta keep working on this thing.
Yes, go for it. Absolutely.
Go keep looking that good somewhere else, Phil.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ready, buddy.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Take care.
Take care.
We'll see you.
Yeah.
See you on
He doesn't believe me.
All right, there you go. I think he's just. It's not that he doesn't believe you. I think
Think
he's just a humble.
modest?
He's just a
It's hard to
humble
take a
man
compliment. Yeah.
with a power beard.
That's
and
a
it's
power beard
okay.
for sure.
Boy, oh
And a
shit.
power sweater.
Mm-hmm. Hold on, I'm gonna try something real quick. Let's see.
Oh, God.
You can do this.
Your daddy.
Just answering that age-old question. In case you were running, I'm not only the deep state.
Hal
also...
Sparks? Dean Cain?
What? Dean
I don't know.
Cain?
It's just easy to dunk on, like more so lately.
Yes, you're absolutely right. There's no question. All right, let's see if we can pop this out. Look at that. See if that works. I'm just checking these things to see if they actually work. Look at Big Johnny. Look at that. Look out. Boink. I should just be brim. Ow! You're squashing me, man.
Bonus content.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
Aren't you glad you stayed till the end?
I am. I feel much better. Hold on. This is a bit. And then does this allow me to? I guess is the radius just we keep going and whoop. This is just me. Yeah. Hold on. Alignment. What's the alignment? Oh, look out! Look out! What that? Hang on! Ow! Look out! Stop it, Johnny! Quit it! I'm ow!
Knocked out on my
sciatica. I got a pinched nerve, and that's the best thing you can say about me.
Well, tonight, Mrs. Million and I are going to watch Young Frankenstein. I believe it will be her first viewing.
What? Oh, that's right. She is painfully ignorant of a lot of pop culture stuff because she was busy.
Yeah, it's because her parents did not plop her in front of a TV the way mine did.
Pitiful.
She was either outside or babysitting or, listening to 70s pop hits.
Sure. Is that what happened? Yeah, that's
yeah.
Sure. Just
I quote cartoons to her face and she looks at me like I'm insane. What do you mean you don't know that Tom and Jerry cartoon?
Right.
Remember when Woody Woodpecker said gurgle, gurgle, gurgle? I do.
Okay. Nope. All right, I will let you go, and thank you so much, and you're awesome, and thanks for helping me walk through this. This is still a little choppy for me, and still needs a little bit of work, so I'm going to.
I don't hate this though.
Things. Yeah, it's a good fallback. It is. It's a good fallback. It is helpful. All right. Much love to you, my friend. See you later. Bye. I think I have to kick you out or something. I think you have to. Nope, he just leaves. It does it automatically. Look at that. Hi, how you doing? Good to see you, chat room. And I can bring in the chat as well, I think. Where's the little chat about business? What's going on? Comments? Is a caption? Where's the chat? Oh, there it is. Chat's down here at the bottom. Boink. There we go. Looking good. All right. And thank you guys so much. It's so good to be back with you folks. This is so weird. I need to rearrange this. How do we? I do like this and customize and there we go. Is it only on the right? That's annoying. Thoughts on Newsom, whatever. Sorry, that went by too fast. That's the other thing is I can't stop the chat as it's going by. So I can only watch it, in another one. I think we did hit on something. Do you mind? Let me go. I'm going to do this ratio thing and split myself into. What's happening? What's happening? Come on now. Radius. That's the. I put myself in the ratio. What are we doing? I guess it doesn't allow it to. All right. Oh, it's like 100% or nothing. Never mind. Stupid. On Newsom trolling Trump. Yeah. We talked about that in the first hour. I'm a big fan. I think it's exactly what you need to do. I've said for a while that mockery is something he cannot handle. He loves your outrage. If you are genuinely enraged at something he's doing, I get it that you're right. You're absolutely correct in those feelings. You are justified. I will be the first to tell you that. However, it will have zero effect on your on the target of your anger. Trump does not care if you are outraged, mad, disgusted, all those things. That's what he wants you to be. That's the control point for them. They need you to be like outraged to the point of being apoplectic. They need their rage farming. That's what trolling ultimately is. And he's a troll president, right? So to me, I would say the value of your response to him after you have been enraged, which you are completely in the right. I get it. But then you've got to turn it into something that makes fun of him, that diminishes him, that mocks him. Otherwise, it will have no impact. Yeah? Does that make sense? And so what's coming from Newsom works like a charm. You can be, he can be genuinely outraged at what Trump is doing, but you know how you can actually go, you could be angry at someone for something that they've done, and one of the bigger insults you could throw their way is they're a fucking joke. This whole thing's a fucking joke. He's a joke. Like when you call somebody that. Okay. Trump takes that more to heart than he's a fucking criminal or a rapist. For real. Calling him a joke hurts worse. And you can do both. But just know that whatever even if you're rage posting, if you're writing something like blah blah blah, fuck this dude, at the tail end of it, if it's addressed to MAGA, if it's addressed to Trump, and you're trying to drive a point home, say all the stuff that makes you outraged. Like we shouldn't have cops in the streets wearing masks, fucking Gestapo, blah blah blah. You can say that stuff if you want, but at the end of it, and go, and maybe we wouldn't be in this mess if it wasn't tiny hands, tiny dick over there, right? If you tailor it so that the end of it is a diminishment, that has more impact. If you can tailor it where you don't sound outraged at all, you can be sympathetic to someone who's being hurt without being, outraged in the circumstance. Think of yourself as a political or social or emotional EMT. You got to reserve your own emotions so you can help. This is one of those areas where you can do that. You can address the needs of actual human beings sympathetically and honestly without giving any of your energy to the rage, to the dark side, and then tailor it in a way that ultimately mocks Trump and his followers, because they have their complete wusses, all of them. So that's how and again, that's how you do it. Would it be better if he responded to real details and facts, and if he actually cared, and if he was actually out? Yes, fine, of course. Will that impact the circumstance you're actually in? No. So put it aside. Yeah, touch grass, right, and come out swinging. But release the Trump pedophiles. That's, yes, again, embarrassment and mockery. Those are your two keys. And when in doubt, just go for the jugular. Go for Epstein. That's how you do it. Trump is Porkins. I can do that. How do you feel? Damn it! The thing scrolls by so friggin' fast. Hold on. Let me see if I can see that one in the other chat. Scrolling backwards and trying to find the thing. He told Steve Bannon trans people are grave danger, and then he didn't walk it back, and it's 400 times. One fight at a time. You don't know what nominees we could have. Oh my God! And Hunter was fucking fantastic. I don't know if you guys seen his non-apology apology. It's terrific. Back to Epstein's summer. That's exactly right. Yeah, the Hunter Biden stuff has been terrific lately. Good for him. Hey, Andrea, I don't know if he only does Channel 5 right now, but I would love to have him on. I mean, I am the guy who convinced everybody and made them, well, I don't know, made everybody realize there is no Hunter Biden laptop. And you're welcome. And so I would love to do that. Kiss at the Kennedy Center. I'm fine with them getting Kennedy honors. I'm not going to let the fact that Trump hands it to somebody undermine that, because Paul is Gene, I can't leans MAGA, but has pushed back against it lately. And Paul's always been on the right side of this. So if he wants to like deal with that and draw attention to that, that's exactly what he's going to do. Trump brief children, thank you for your attention to this matter. Exactly. Right. That's another one. Yes. Trump is in the Epstein files. Thank you for this. Thank you for your attention to this matter is a great, easy post. Just make a bunch of those, put them in a little notebook. And when you're want for something to say, or you found somebody trolling you or trying to drag you into some bullshit, just drop that little thing in there and just walk away. Because again, how the Epstein files run under something, right? Well, they must be. Otherwise, we'd have seen it by now. Yay. Okay. And tomorrow or Monday? You mean Monday? Yes. Monday, Lev Parnas and Tara Dublin, who does Indeed Rock. Yes, Nikki. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Nikki. Sorry I missed it, but I was doing other stuff and I was far away and doing things with my girlfriend because it was her birthday. Happy birthday to you. Oh, that's nice. Gene already said no, so he won't show up. Fantastic. So I don't know if Paul will be there. Watch it just be Ace in one of his Nazi uniforms. Yes, Paul and Gene are both Jewish, and Ace collects Nazi memorabilia. Mm-hmm. No worries, Andrea. I've been in the same situation. Yeah. Yeah, Hunter's stuff is fantastic. And I love that Peanut Butter Dickheads guys are all like, Hunter's probably terrified and he's going to watch. He's in deep shit. And then his video where he comes out and he goes, do you apologize? He's like, fuck that. I'm like, oh, I guess you guys were wrong again, eh? Now, back to Epstein. Lev Parnas will get you some. Oh, that's a great idea, Robin. I will put out an ad tomorrow that will run. That's a good idea. So, you watched so did I. Yeah, I watched it on a drive. Fantastic. All right, I'm going to let you guys go because I do have work to do on my system because I just got back last night to make sure everything works for Monday. And that's a great idea. I will put Lev on a thumbnail and a post for the Monday show. Awesome. Bolton was on news saying if Ukraine agreed to ceasefire, it would automatically mean current lines would be borders. Can Phil speak to that? Oh, yeah, it won't happen. That's not going to happen. It just ain't like that. I mean, even Zelensky, if he wanted to, couldn't do it without, the legislature, and none of them are for it. And the idea that they're going to give lands that Russia hasn't even taken yet, they're going to draw further than the actual claimed lines is just ridiculous. The other thing is like the claimed lines as of Monday, and then just boom, right? Both sides would be opening. Yeah. How are you going to turn down your Kennedy Center honor? No, because mine won't happen until 2040. And we'll have a woman of color as president, so I'll be happy to receive it. How do you like that? All right. Anyways, Hal, so we're using Restream from now on? No, not necessarily. This is my full backup. I should be able to get the other system back up and running, but I'm going to work on that in the interim. This isn't as good as I'd like it to be. It helps. It's good, but there's some other things I can do to it that I haven't had time to mess around with. So I'll keep tweaking it so it gets a little more uniform for what we're doing. But until that point, we will, because I can't put in like dummy images of guests and it's weird creating the scenes for us. It's annoying. I don't know why. So, anyways, that said, let's see. I'm going to sign off with. Let's see what I should probably put this in here. Oh, there's an Apple update tonight. Thank you, Barbara. That will probably fix it. Great call. Look out. Look out.